Rouse's is proud of the creativity and the unparalleled entertainment in New Orleans, and honored to highlight it with their sponsorship of Steppin Out on WYES.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio.
Hello, Peggy.
Hello. Jan Ramsey, publisher and editor-in-chief of Offbeat Media, Offbeat Magazine. Good to see you, Jan.
Hi.
Hello. It's been a while. We're so glad to see John Kemp, art columnist for Louisiana Life magazine, and a member of our Steppin Out family for almost 35 years. Hi, John. Welcome.
Hey, Peg. Good to see
Hello.
you.
Hey. And Alex Mason in Searsaca. Of course, theatercriticism.com and the Crescent City Jewish News. Hey, Alan.
All right.
Poppy, someone has come up with such a clever idea.
Well, you know, it's just about Jazz Fest time, except we're going to have to wait till October for Jazz Fest. And so, this brilliant New Orleanian, Emily Van Landingham, has come up with an incredible project. She was formerly of Locally Preserved, that was her business. And on the two Jazz Fest Saturdays, April the 24th and May the 1st, she's going to be hosting the first ever Farm Stand Live. Now this is a big music and food event that's going to take place. It's basically drive-in at the Shrine on Airline. And there's incredible talent like Dumpsta Funk and George Porter Jr. and John Cleary rather. All of those people are going to be performing, and you're going to get a big show, Jazz Fest style, and you're going to get dinner. When you buy your tickets, you order from Justine or Cochon Butcher or La Petite Grocery. You have these choices of experiences. The highest end is the VIP experience that starts off at $225 per person. And that is not only for the show and for dinner, but you're also going to get a market box of produce from the Crescent City Farmers Market to go. Now, I wanted to demystify this experience. So you have to have 2 people per car, that's the minimum, but you can have as many as 8 people, and there are different levels. So there's that $225, or you can go as low as $60 per person if you've got 8 people in the car at the lowest level. You have a choice generously to keep your produce box or donate it to the local food bank. They'll take care of that for you. And of course, there's going to be a cashless bar, so there'll be plenty to drink as well. It's going to be really fun. So if you don't know what to do when it's Jazz Fest Saturdays, thanks to Emily Van Landingham, we've got something great to do at the Shrine on Airline.
All right, thank you so much. And Jan, it is so good that we can be talking about live music at Tips.
At long last. We've been without live music in the clubs for a year, and it's just slowly starting to come back, but I think in time it's going to be a tsunami. And the bigger clubs, Tipitina's and the Howlin' Wolf, have really jumped on this. Tipitina's has been doing some concerts for a while that were live streamed, but now they're going back to live music. And this weekend they're going to host Leo Nocentelli, who's the original guitar player for the Meters, which I think everybody in the audience is probably familiar with. The Meters, the funk band of the world. And it's going to be a very popular show because they have 2 shows. The 7:30 show has sold out, but the 9:30 show is available, and you can get the tickets from tipitinas.com. That's one thing that's going on this weekend. And then at the Howlin' Wolf, there's a very interesting show as well, and that is a tribute to the original bass player in the jazz fusion band, the Headhunters. The original percussionist, Bill Summers, lives in New Orleans, and Paul Jackson, who was the original bassist, passed away earlier this year, so they're going to do a tribute to him at the Howlin' Wolf this weekend, again on Saturday night, and there are 2 shows there at 7 and 9 p.m. In the band are some local people, Chris Severin, Donald Harrison Jr., Kyle Roussel, who's a great
Wow.
a great piano player, and I think it'll be definitely a great show. The Headhunters are a great band.
You know, I have to hand it to Howie of the Howlin' Wolf, because he's been somebody who's been so active during the pandemic, helping to feed people, you know, and to serve as a headquarters for that. And then now I'm thrilled, you know, that he can pull it together, because I'm sure it's very hard to have live music as well. I know that there's so many things that you have to do to be able to, be open for live music, aren't there?
Yes, all the clubs that are having live music require people to make reservations. They're limited to I think they're 50% capacity. You have to wear a mask. So they're taking all the different precautions that you have to take to have live music. And still, you can only seat, I think, maybe 75 people per show at Tips, and maybe at the Howlin' Wolf. That's why they're going to a dual show per night. Mm-hmm. But slowly it's coming back, and I'm crossing my fingers that it stays this way.
And Jan, just to congratulate you, you're in new digs with Offbeat. You're actually at the New Orleans Jazz Museum.
Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah, we moved our offices to the New Orleans Jazz Museum, and it's definitely worth a visit. And they have live music there all the time. They have every Tuesday for sure. They have music, live music in the courtyard, and then they also have other music that they stream, and they have an education center that also has music.
That's great. What a great combination. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And John, my goodness, we're in I'm glad to say, our 35th anniversary season. So we wanted you to come back. You were always, of course, welcome, but just to kind of reflect over those 35 years, and I know that's a challenging thing to do.
Well, we've witnessed probably one of the great periods in the history of art in New Orleans over the last 35 years. And I have just 5 major events or happenings that have affected that. One is, of course, is the Arts District in downtown. Thanks to the Contemporary Arts Center, the 1984 New Orleans World's Fair.
And John, let me just say, before you proceed, I forgot to do the plug that I wanted to do for you.
Okay.
So I'm going to back
Always
up
welcome.
and say why that is. Okay, John has been writing for Louisiana Life magazine, and this is the March-April issue. And you have been profiling Louisiana artists for so many years, and I know you're also writing for Acadiana Profile. And tell us the name of this artist.
Oh, that's Darlene Derling. She's moved to Ruston, Louisiana from Germany. She and her husband took a teaching position in Ruston, and they fell in love with the area, and they decided to make North Louisiana home.
All right. Well, I just had to say that. Now, please proceed, sir.
Well, no, so to say that, there are 5 stories that I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit about what's happened in the last 35 years to make this probably one of the greatest periods in the history of art in New Orleans. One is the creation of the Arts District in downtown New Orleans, where, thanks to the Contemporary Arts Center, the 1984 New Orleans World's Fair, and the Preservation Resource, took a decaying 19th century neighborhood of old factories and warehouses and turned them into probably one of the premier arts districts in this part of the country, in the southern United States. Now we have over 20 art galleries. We have the Ogden Museum of Southern Art, the World War II Museum. And what's happened was, it's in this area, it's created an art economy that has spread throughout the city, even up through Magazine Street. And it's been a wonderful thing. The Hellas Foundation and other foundations have invested a lot of money in public art downtown. So it really has made it a wonderful place. And the important thing is, with these galleries, it's attracted artists from all over the country here. Now we have not only artists from the greater New Orleans area, all of Louisiana, but from all over the country, have venues in which to show their work. which has made it, really enriching for all of us. And not since the late 19th century have we had anything even close to that. The second story I want to talk about with the African American artists. And thanks to all of these galleries now in the Warehouse District and the New Orleans Museum of Art and the Ogden, really for the first time, African-American artists in New Orleans who have gained reputations and acclaim in other parts of the country, especially in the Northeast, are now being shown and getting their due recognition here in New Orleans, and it's about time. And also, not only are they showing their work here, but even members in the African-American community are forming their own museums, like this particular one, the African-American Museum in Treme on Governor Nichols Street, in this beautiful 19th century home, and also the McKenna Museum of African American Art uptown. So we're having all of these venues now to see the work coming out of that segment of the community that didn't really have a chance to show before.
And of course, the African American Museum, they're in the process of revitalizing, and that building is so special, isn't it?
Oh, it's a magnificent
But also,
place.
we can't forget Prospect, huh?
Well, with Prospect, that came, thanks to Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina, the galleries were the first to come back into business, and the artists in New Orleans really went to work in producing some of the most dramatic art seen. We've always enjoyed the landscape and the cityscapes in New Orleans, but this is really drama going when the artists were actually crawling over the ruins and painting what they saw there. And it also attracted the international art community to New Orleans. This is an image of Prospect 4, but Prospect 1 happened right after Katrina, when the contemporary art world based in New York brought artists from all over the world to show their work in New Orleans and to highlight the city and just put New Orleans back where it belonged on the International Art Mark. Actually, Prospect 5 opens in October, so
all right.
It's coming along pretty well.
Well, we'll come back to you to hear more, of course, and over to Alan.
And I got more for you.
Peggy, I wanted to let you know that a couple things happened this past week. First of all, the Nola Theater Folk Facebook group had its one-year anniversary along with the Nola Theater Talk
Congratulations.
Show. And I want to mention that Broadway looks like it's coming back, because for the first time, signaling the beginning of the end of the lockdown, last Saturday at the St. James Theater, Savion Glover and Nathan Lane had a performance that was about 45 minutes long, but a Broadway theater was open and people were inside it. So Broadway is coming back, and so is local theater. More on that later, but I wanted to get to one of Nathan's co-stars in The Nance and producers, Tony Award winner Katie Huffman. She is going to have some exciting news to share, and that is that in November of 2019, she starred in a one-woman show about Marguerite Bourgeois, who became Canada's first female saint. This show was created especially for her by Anton Dudley and Michael Cooper. Katie will be my guest this Monday night on the Nola Theater Talk Show, and she'll be talking about this unique singing role. She'll be joined by Anton Dudley, who wrote the book and the lyrics, and Michael Cooper, the musician who wrote the music, and they'll talk about their process and what brought Katie to their attention. She loves New Orleans. She was last here in 2017. That's at the Jazz Museum, Jan, with Deacon John Moore. And of course, she also sampled some delicacies at the old Two Jacques. Our paths have crossed many times on Broadway, where I actually love to take her to several shows. Head Over Heels, Natasha and Pierre, Hadestown, Groundhog Day, which is her birthday, and there we are at King Kong, a guilty pleasure. So again, hopefully you'll get a chance to see it. The Nola Theater Folk Facebook group, theatercriticism.com Facebook page, or my own YouTube channel. By the way, Peggy, the big word for this week coming up is not only theater, but also opera. The Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra is having their Night at the Opera tomorrow night, and it's a $15 ticket, which is very, very affordable, and we recommend that people get on over to this virtual presentation that the New Orleans Opera will have. And then next week, Giancarlo Minotti's The Medium opens with Sarah Jane McMahon, Amy Frimmer, Dennis Jesse, and Victoria Livengood in the title role. The Medium, again, those tickets are just $40. If you compare that to what a real in-person experience would be for the opera, you know that that's a very good deal. Next week, I will have reviews for 2 openings this week, but I want to let everybody know that opening on a local stage, Anthony Lecture is directing a comedy of tenors over the Jefferson Performing Arts Center on Airline Drive. Go check that out. And, of course, over at Rivertown Theaters, tomorrow night is the opening for Nonsense, directed by Gary Rucker. We'll have those reviews for you next week.
All right, thank you so much, and back to Poppy.
Well, all that Jazz Fest talk, it puts me in the mood for Cochon de Lay. And I just had to share with everybody my favorite fantasy food these days. Scott Craig of Katie's has a second business on Harrison Avenue, and it's called Francesca's Deli and Pizzeria. And that is where I indulge in the Boudreaux. And the Boudreaux is a cochon de lait pizza that has red onions and spinach and roasted garlic and garlic butter and mozzarella and provolone. And I think about it all the time. And so I finally just had to tell everybody about that. And it's a great deli with sandwiches and burgers and salads. And so check out Francesca's. It's really delicious. And now I have something brand new to talk about, and that's from my buddy Mark Latter. This is Birdie's Behind the Bower, and it is on Magazine Street in that same complex where the crew offices are, where the Bower is. Check that out. That is a delicious cookie cereal, and there's a brunch board to share. There's Birdie's Behind the Bower is breakfast, brunch, and lunch. How about a cinnamon roll baked in banana custard? That's what that beautiful thing is. They have cannoli French toast. They have bowls and salads and burgers and juices and smoothies. And of course, they have bottomless mimosas for just $18 all the time. And that's right there where Mark also has the Bower and Claret, his craft cocktail bar. So someplace to stop by.
Thank you so much. And back to Jan for more live music. I'm glad there's a list here.
Yes, I am too. Believe me, I am. Well, I mentioned, some of the bigger clubs, Tipitina's, Howlin' Wolf. But during the pandemic, there's also been a trend to go outdoors and listen to music because you could do that. And so the Dixie Brewery now, the Footwork Brewery, has been doing some things over the past 6 months, and they are doing this weekend. They have on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They have music in the afternoon, so you can go out to the brewery, enjoy what you want to do, and listen to the music, including this weekend Stanton Moore, who's in the afternoon. And then also there's another brewery called Zony Mash Brewing Project, which is on. I think it's on Martin Luther King, and they're going to put in the New Orleans Suspects, which is a kind of a classic groovy R&B funk band. So that's also outside. So both of these are outside events, and they're a great way to spend the afternoon. And Zony Mash has events every weekend. Actually, they have it during the week too, but then the Footwork Brewery has every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they have music, and they have been having it for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so much. And moving back over to John to continue your list.
Yes, well, after Hurricane Katrina, hundreds of young artists descended upon New Orleans, and not all of them were just interested in the landscape of New Orleans, but many of them were focusing on the environment and because of the hurricane. And they were young artists, photographers like Julie Demansky, Ben Depp, were actually out in the land just showing how through the global warming of the rising sea level, how many of these communities in coastal Louisiana and villages were absolutely, totally disappearing. They're producing pretty dramatic work, as you can see here. So so a lot of these artists are much more socially conscious than they are simply for the visual's sake. And then my fifth and final store is in New Orleans Museum of Art. It doubled in size between 1991 and 1993, and the Sidney and Walter Bestoff Sculpture Garden also opened in 2003, but also doubled in size again in 2019 to 12 acres. It's one of the finest sculpture gardens in the United States now. And then finally, back in 1995, Alice Yellen, who's then a curator at the museum, published this book and had this major exhibition called Passionate Visions, talking about the self-taught outsider artists, like Sister Gertrude Morgan and so forth, who are being recognized for the first time. It actually gave them some visibility and some depth in the art world, and not just the trained academic artist. So it's really an important development in that field of the art, too.
you know, the sculpture garden is such a gift to the community, and now, of course, both phases of it, too. I mean, what a joy, especially this time of the year with the weather being so beautiful. It is really something out there, and you see so many local artists as well as internationally known, too.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful gift.
Plus they move a children's museum there, too. So it's really,
Absolutely, absolutely.
So it's a really great place for everyone to go to.
Yeah, thank you so much, John.
My
And
pleasure.
back to Alan.
You know, Peggy, at 91 years of age, you'd figure that John Cullum would be slowing down, but he's showing anything but that right now. He has a new show that he's done, actually socially distanced. It starts streaming tonight. It's titled John Cullum, An Accidental Star. Cullum, of course, who won his first Tony for Shenandoah and then as the maniacal Oscar Jaffe and On the 20th Century, recounts how luck or fate really interceded and intervened in his career. This, of course, is a fundraiser for the Irish Rep and the Vineyard Theater. You can get your tickets. There he is in Shenandoah. Again, it's streaming right now online. You'll be able to check it out as of tonight and therefore until the 22nd. TheVineyardTheater.org. You can get your tickets at the Irish Rep. And by the way, don't forget, Peggy, there is a wonderful showing of Vanya, Sonia, Masha, and Spike from the Lincoln Theater Center that people still should be able to see. It's a free show with David Hyde Pierce and Sigourney Weaver and also Shalita Grant, who some of us may remember from NCIS New Orleans. She's in it. She plays Cassandra. It stopped streaming after Sunday, so you have no one to blame if you miss this wonderful work by Christopher Durang. It's a great, great play. Also, speaking of plays, as today was Holocaust Remembrance Day, the National Yiddish Theater is presenting the play The Bird of the Ghetto. This is about a real heroine, Itzik Wittenberg, who rescued people from the Warsaw Ghetto. It's a play written by Chava Rosenberg. You'll see it in the original Yiddish, but it will have English subtitles. And to wrap things up, this week's guest on Seth Rudetsky's concert is going to be the newest Tony Award winner for Best Featured Actress in a Musical, Allie Stoker. And of course, Allie was just featured in Oklahoma. Allie was wonderful in that. She really richly deserved it. The first person in a wheelchair to actually win a Tony Award, and a great, great actress. I actually saw that, believe it or not, the last show I saw on Broadway with who? Katie Huffman. So there you go.
Okay. Katie, wonderful. Thank you so much. I saw John Cullum in 1776, by the way, on Broadway. I have to say, it was the first Broadway show I ever saw. He is amazing. He is so amazing. Thank you. And now time for our Picks of the Week. Poppy.
Well, there is a very special wine dinner on May 19th. It's Plump Jack Wines. Anybody who's a wine lover knows about them. And I'd say if mom's a wine lover, that's a pretty good Mother's Day gift.
Sounds good. Jan.
We keep talking about the weather and the beautiful weather in Jazz Fest, and one of the things that I think people miss a lot are the social aid and pleasure clubs that march up and down during Jazz Fest. Well, there you can experience a social aid and pleasure club now at the Broadside, which is at 600 North Broad. They're hosting the Nola Footwork Fest every Sunday from 1 to 3. And there'll be brass bands, they'll be there in their costumes, there'll be people marching around. It's socially distanced, and it's it's the 9 Times Social Aid and Pleasure Club, and also the Kings of Brass from 1 to 3 this weekend outside at the Broadside.
I am such a big fan of that space, Jan, and
It's
what a great
place.
idea to help out the social aid and pleasure clubs too.
Yes, indeed,
Thank
indeed.
you, John.
Well, tomorrow night is Spring for Art in Covington, the gallery walk-around, and the St. Tammany Art Association will be featuring the glass art of Paulo Dufour. Paulo Dufour does magnificent work, and is a former LSU professor now living in Covington. So it's a show really worth seeing.
All right, thank you. And Alan.
Well, speaking about Mother's Day, a little bit after Mother's Day, Heather Massey, whose Hedy Lamarr show was postponed 3 times last year, will be in New Orleans for a socially distanced performance of Hedy, The Life and Adventures of Hedy Lamarr, on the weekends of May the 21st and May the 28th. You want to check that out, but get your tickets soon because BB Stage Door Canteen has only limited seating, and they're going to sell out pretty quick. I'll see you at the theater, Peggy.
And that is a fascinating story because she was actually an inventor and scientist, and a lot of people don't even realize that, do they?
Bluetooth.
Incredible. Yeah, right. And now my picks. Over the next few months, WYES will have some special local Zoom events called Grape performances. Join me next Tuesday, April 13th, for a tribute to music legend Alan Toussaint. The ticket price includes vintage performance footage, courtesy of the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, from the Michael Murphy collection. Allison Toussaint, LeBeau, Toussaint's daughter, will share her memories, we sure appreciate that, as well as Irma Thomas and Deacon John, and WYES's own Marcia Cavanaugh, too. Your ticket includes 3 bottles of Spanish wine with a Zoom visit from the head of Bodegas Familia Chavarri Vineyard in Spain, and that's during the program. Go to wyes.org/events to buy a ticket, and I think we're facing a deadline there, so do that now. On Saturday, don't forget the Piety Market in Exile. That's a great flea market, food and music by Dave, Rebecca, and friends. That's Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 at the corner of St. Claude and Spain Street. New Orleans' own Nola Gold rugby team is playing against the Austin Gilfranis on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. at the Gold Mine on Airline, a.k.a. former Baby Cakes Field and Zephyr Field. You can tailgate earlier, and yes, there is food available too. For tickets, go to nolagoldrugby.com. There's also a game next Saturday too. The Women's Guild of the New Orleans Opera Association has commissioned sculptor Thomas Bruno, New Orleans sculptor, to create a limited edition of the 20-inch bronze statue depicting Madame Butterfly. Deadline to pre-order is July the 1st. Delivery in October. Call Jenny Chapman at 529-2278 for details. It's so beautiful. By the way, last Sunday, Easter Sunday, Sobu Restaurant paid tribute to New Orleans' premier entertainer, Chris Owens, there on the left. She usually has an Easter parade, but they couldn't do that this year. There's Chris, there's Council Member at Large Helena Moreno, proprietor T. Martin, and Chris's longtime friend and assistant, Kitsy Adams. Love the hats there, too, and God bless Chris. We love her. Thank you all. It was so nice to have you all with us, and welcome Jan Ramsey. Very good to have you. And how old is Offbeat now?
It's 34 years old.
Congratulations. That's
Almost
really
as old as
amazing.
me, but not quite.
Keeping the drive alive, kiddo. And John, I know you and I continue to be amazed by the growth of the arts community, even during these challenging times, huh?
We've seen it all, haven't we, from the beginning?
We certainly have. But it's great to have you all with us. Thank you. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Rouse's is proud of the creativity and the unparalleled entertainment in New Orleans, and honored to highlight it with their sponsorship of Steppin Out on WYES.